Hello, Mette. Good morning.
Good
Or
morning to you as well. Are you
yes,
good?
I'm fine. I hope you are fine too.
I am,
I
thank
want
you.
to start this conversation by talking about how I know you. I think I get to know you from NORLA, or Indonesian will say NORLA, Norwegian Literature Abroad, uh,
Mhm.
an organization that promotes Norwegian literatures in outside Norway. And you and your colleague in NORLA has been taking care of us, the translators, very well. I have to applaud you and thank you for that. Um,
Thank you.
and then we met or we spent a few days together in Lillehammer, in the in the biggest literature festival in Norway. Um, I had a good
Also,
time.
actually, the biggest festival in the Nordic countries.
Ah, indeed,
Yeah,
yes.
so
It's
they
the
are
whole
bigger.
city.
Yeah.
Yes. It was a nice experience. And then, of course, I have been having my agenda to take people to my podcast. And yes, I so today we are going to talk about a book as usual in my podcast, and this is the book that you love. And I end up loving it too. I love it even
Oh, thank you.
after the second reading. This is not my first time reading it, and I will tell
Mhm.
you about it. But
Great.
let's do some flexing. This is the book we are going to talk about. Yes, oh, the same edition. Jon Fosse,
Yes.
Morgon og Kveld. In Indonesian, it will be Pagi dan Petang, by
Again in English, morning and evening.
Morning and Evening. Jon Fosse was awarded the Nobel Prize in 2023. Um, yes. Would you like to introduce this book to us?
I can give it a try. So the book is actually quite, well, not old, but it was published in 2004. So it's quite early, in his, he's been writing for years and years, Jon Fosse. He's so productive. He's written novels, he's written poems, he's written children's books, plays, lots of plays. He's staged all around the world, and he's also written essays. So he's been writing for years and years. But this book was actually published in 2004. And it's a small book, not that many pages. And well, we can talk about this later, but I find it's quite an easy read. And it's a story that's quite easy to present because in whole simplicity, it's a book in two parts. It's a novel in two parts, where the first part is about um, a man awaiting the birth of his son. And his son is going to be called Johannes. So it's a boy, and he is going to become a fisherman. That's what we've been told. And then the second part is an old man called Johannes, who has been a fisherman, looking back at his life and eventually dying.
Hmm.
So, in all simplicity, that is the story. So, it's morning and evening. So, it's the beginning and the end of a life. Um, and there's so much to talk about in between.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
I can just jump in
And
there if you want.
should we? Okay. I should also say that I said it's a book that's easy to present and also easy to read. I must admit that from all Jon Fosse's books, I haven't really read, haven't read them all. And I admit that I've tried to begin reading some of the later novels, and I haven't succeeded. I've tried for a second time, and I I don't know why, but I just don't get into it enough. I really want to, but I haven't managed. I've read some of his children's books, and I quite like them, and his poems. Some of them really, really nice. Also, actually made into songs, at least one of them. And I've seen his plays in the theatre, and I've quite liked a few of them. Some of them are maybe a little less easy to get into. But I must also say that I've actually seen this novel as a theatre performance, which was, I think, one of the reasons that I really, really like it so much, because that was a very simple solution to the novel, which is basically sort of being told from one person's perspective, well, rather two. Well, but in the theatre performance, there was one actress and a fiddle player, and that was all. And it was so beautifully done. So there's many ways to sort of talk about the story and to convey the story, which I quite like.
Do you remember how long was the play?
No, but I think it was in one go. There was no intermission.
So 1 hour?
So maybe 1.5 hours, but I'm not sure. It was quite a few years ago, and the actress who had actually made the performance is one of she's called Anne-Marit Jacobsen, and she's a big Jon Fosse fan. She's done other things with his writings as well. She's done a performance with his poems along with another musician, and that was also, I've seen that performance, and that was also great. So she's a really big fan, and she's also a wonderful actress, grand old lady. She's retired now from the theatre, from the National Theatre, the National Theatre. But she has a passion for stories that she loves, and she's also actually made other novels into theatre performances. So she's great at doing that. But that morning and evening performance was really, really touched me. It was really, really good. So another way at sort of reading or experiencing the story in the novel, I think.
Since you confess, I do my confession as well. I haven't read any other books of Jon Fosse other than this book. I got to know, of course, I'm in Norway. My side job is translating books, Norwegian to Indonesian. So I pay attention to something that happens in the literature world. And after Jon Fosse got the Nobel Prize, I talked to a friend in Indonesia who's this summer, I think he has read already a few of his books, and then he likes it. And then he was, I don't know, he didn't say it, but he said, why are you not interested?
Oh, yeah.
That's the implication. Why haven't you read more of him? And then in our conversation, he actually compared Jon Fosse with the current or this year Nobel Prize winner, Laszlo Krasnohorkai. And he said that there is an element that is similar between the two. And I haven't read that person either. But
I haven't.
Yes, he hadn't read this, so I'm going to have a good conversation with him about this book. And I will tell you my barrier now. Why didn't I fall in love earlier? It's the Nynorsk language. Because as an immigrant, I came here after the school, the age of going to school. I started university, continued my university education when I came to Norway. So my education is in the Norwegian language is only the bookmål. So I have this, I call it a barrier, that I felt it a bit difficult and so on. So in the beginning, I sort of read it and go through it, and okay, I didn't get through the nuances of this book. But preparing for this podcast, I had to do something different, I think. And what I did was reading this book while listening to the audiobook.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I forgot the narrator last something, and then I found that wow, this is a good thing. Then I can have the sound and the Ninos as a sound as a whole, like a person talking to me directly, and I don't have to. Sometimes I skip checking the dictionary. What does it mean in bookmall? But after a couple of times, a couple of rhymes, and there is also repetition in this book, I felt, oh,
Yeah.
must be that, that must be that, and suddenly everything fall into place, and I can enjoy it. I can get into the universe of
Flow.
this book, and I fell in love with it. And the symmetry, like you said, is very beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, so we should maybe talk a little bit about nynorsk then. The fact that
Yes,
Norway has
you can read my mind.
several languages, but that the nynorsk is one version or standard that is used by the minority, should we say, of the Norwegian population. And bokmål is the version used by most Norwegians. But this all has to do with geography, whereabout in the country you live, and so nynorsk is sort of regional, and also it's not really a spoken version of the language. It's a written, what should you say, a common written version of several dialects. And Jon Fosse writes in nynorsk, and I can tell you that a lot of bokmål users in Norway also have barriers when it comes to reading nynorsk. And we are supposed to learn nynorsk at school. I mean, people who do nynorsk also need, of course, to learn bokmål. But for a lot of people at school in Norway, nynorsk is difficult. And there are regularly campaigns among students to try to skip nynorsk because they find it hard and it's difficult. And at the same time, it is not that different from bokmål, but there are, the grammatics and the rules, and yeah, it's different. And I can remember myself having a little bit of trouble at school with sort of coping and trying to understand the grammatics, and I'm still not good. I mean, I'm not at all good at writing nynorsk, but reading it, I find is a very different matter. And to a lot of people, I think if you ask them, they would say nynorsk is more poetic, very often anyway. It might be sort of more singing, flowing, and especially for poetry and also songs, hymns, what have you, can make a somewhat stronger impression in nynorsk than in bokmål. And I think quite a lot of bokmål users will agree to this. Yeah.
The same characterization can also be set to bokmål for an immigrant like me, because Scandinavian language is singing like.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No. Yeah, of course, it all depends on where you sort of stand.
Yes.
From the beginning. And quite a lot of, I've spoken to a lot of your colleagues who also translate from Norwegian to other languages. And a few of them think that nynorsk, they find it's closer to Swedish than to
yes.
bokmål. Yeah. So, and that for us, or at least for me, Swedish is also a lot more sort of singing in the tone and the voice. But then, I mean, with Jon Fosse and his, I would say, maybe most present characteristic way of writing is, you said it earlier, repetition. So he's famous and infamous, I think, for his repetitions. And also, and you didn't mention this, but he's not a big fan of punctuation, or at least not of full stops.
Yeah, I was going to keep it.
Oh yeah. Okay, I blew it.
Yeah, I mean, I always have this discussion, or maybe I try to cover my snobbery because I wouldn't expect, for example, UNESCO or J.K. Rowling's, they will not get away from their editor if they omit all the punctuations. And then I was thinking, like, maybe how what is the thinking process of someone, of a writer who suddenly one day decide, I will not use the punctuation and then I will let the word accept me. And usually people who get away with this are people who awarded the Nobel Prize. But this was written in 2004, and maybe he must be much younger than, of course, he was much younger than he is today. And he got some kind of premonition that one day he will get a Nobel Prize and I can get away with this. What do you say about it?
Yeah. It's an interesting idea. When I read it now, I think it's the third or fourth time I've read the novel, and I love it more every time. I just have to say that. But now I sort of felt that, okay, yeah, it's a stream of consciousness. Naturally, that's what he does.
Yes.
And also the way the pages are, the layout on the pages, although there are no full stops, I feel it's very sort of logical, and it's not hard to follow. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the book, I found a full stop. Actually, more. Did you? Did you see them?
Of course, I hear it
All of a sudden they were there.
because I listen while I read. It's even more spoken language. This is like, since I know I have seen the picture of Jon Fosse, how he looks like now, I felt like a nice uncle is reading me a story. That's what I felt. That kind of comfort. It's like sitting warmly with a warm cloth in front of a fireplace.
Yeah.
That kind of comfort. And he talks about it slowly. If you look at page 17,
Close to that.
I just realized that it is
my
the
favorite part.
scene for birthing, and then there is this Danyama dunking, all this. It's when I read it the first time, I just skip it. Oh, it doesn't mean anything. But when you actually read it, whoa, this is a nice way of describing a birth process.
And the fascinating thing is that the perspective in the first part is actually from the father to be, but then all of a sudden, the narrator, as it were, is the baby being born, or the shift is that from the father to be, and he's trying to help the midwife with boiled water and everything, sort of, and then being told that you're not supposed to be part of the birthing in the birthing room.
Yes.
And he sort of steps away, and then all of a sudden there's a change, and you just get a description of the surroundings of the boy being born. And I think it's amazing. I think it's, yeah.
Well,
but
I
probably
that one.
more so the second time when you read it, because the first time you think, what are all these vowels doing here? The language is sort of disintegrating. What's happening? But it's, I think, a wonderful description of the change. Yeah.
When I suddenly realized the mental barrier is no longer there, and then I start to enjoy this book, and then I even dare to go even further. What would I do if I have to translate this? And then this is one of the thing. What would I do? Yeah, da, it's okay, but there is also o, also so. How would I translate this thing? That would be interesting. It's no longer frightening as I thought before, anyway.
Oh, that's great. Well, a lot of your colleagues have already struggled with this.
Yeah.
Because, Jon Fosse's books and plays have been translated into more than 50 languages. So a lot of people have been struggling with this. And I know for a fact that almost all of them have been struggling with the lack of punctuation.
Hmm.
And I think a few of them have found comfort in the breaks, as it were, especially maybe if translating the plays, that just the rhythm and the sort of pauses, that there are a significant part of the way he writes. Yeah. But I think also in quite a lot of languages, and I think I've spoken to at least the translators done parts of, or lots of his work translated into English, says that in the English language you're not allowed to do repetitions. You're supposed to sort of rewrite and make use of synonyms, or you're not. It just looks foolish or childish if you do repetitions
You have to
like this.
rephrase to sound adult. Yes. You have to
Exactly.
rephrase to
Yeah.
sound adult.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But then again, to be true to the author and to the original work, you can't really, because he's repeating himself. I mean, that's one of his trademarks in a way.
I got my mother. My mother was she was fascinated. She died last year. She was fascinated why I was so cute, why I was so interested with this literature. She was not a big reader before that period, but there was
Mm-hmm.
a year where when she actually read more books than I do in the whole year.
Oi.
She was that kind of
Wow.
person, and okay, I have never been interested what my son did, so I prove it, right?
Ah,
Then she just read a lot of books, and then we
ah,
can at that time. That's the point of time when have I recognize that I talk more with my mom. I mean, I always talk a lot with my mom, but after that period, there are more topics we can talk about.
yeah.
And then one day, she read a book that is called literary, not a genre books. And then that book was repetitive. She said, what does
Uh-huh.
it mean? This book was so repetitive." And then that book, that's an Indonesian book, and the author was talking about. Actually, it was a heavy subject. Uh, Children who got abused at home, but
Mm-hmm.
from the point of view of the children. And this is a
Oi.
5-year-old who is talking, and of course, maybe younger. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
the word that is seen by this 5-year-old, there is a lot of repetition in it, and there is also a fantasy in it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I remember the time when I talked to my mom about styling. Actually, people who are talking, and the expression is not just by saying the person is 8 or the person is 5, but actually acting out like a 5-year-old. So the repetition, of course, the repetition will sound like a child because it is a child who's talking, like you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So what you said earlier, that in a translation you have to avoid repetition in English. Maybe for this case, there is a justification of not doing that. But I can
Yeah,
give
I
you.
think actually the translator found a way around it somehow. But
Hmm.
it's a challenge, absolutely. And I think also in the second part of the book, it is in a way, or at least I was the thought I had when I reread it now. It's kind of a justification for the repetition because he's an old man looking back at his life and looking sort of back into everyday happenings, and in a way, at least I thought that when I was a child, that the grown-ups, especially grandparents, they always say the same things, don't they? It's kind of repetitive, the way
Right.
the
Can
way
we
they talk about things that have been anyway. Yeah.
can we be a little bit not nice? Actually, that's human that we repeat things. People just
Mm,
pretend that they want to be adult, they want to look proper by
mm.
rephrasing or something like that.
Yeah.
What happened in
Yeah.
the mind is actually a repetition. So what? And this
Yeah.
is just being
True.
honest, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. And also one of the things that I saw maybe clearer this time when I read it is that he has a way of an old-fashioned way of expressing himself. The way the words are put into order, it's not there is a kind of, it's not archaic, I wouldn't say that, but it's old-fashioned in the good way.
Mm.
So it really fits the narrative being an old man dying, the way he phrases things and some of the words that he uses as well. Yeah, so it really it's in character in a way.
I didn't do my research well, apparently. I didn't know that this was written in 2004. So when I talk about the Johannes part, I imagine Jon Fosse now
Oh yeah,
with his
yeah,
long white hair. And so,
to
yeah,
tell, yeah.
but this was not that, definitely. And although I still want to go a bit with the repetition, I always find this, or people who, whenever I told this story to people, they chuckled at once because the way Indonesian language express plural, it's by repeating it. So if you say a book is one book, if two books, it will be
Yeah,
book.
really?
Yes.
Okay.
If it is mata is an eye. So, no, mata means spy. But if you want to make a plural out of a noun, you're repeating it.
Huh?
But sometimes you
Okay.
also, if you have an adjective to the books, for example, fine bøker,
Yeah,
nice books.
yeah.
So the word in Indonesia is bagus, which means nice. And then if you want to say, oh, those books are nice, so buku-buku itu bagus-bagus. You repeat
Really?
the adjective. I haven't seen any other language that has the same structure for
Oh,
plural, both the nouns and the adjective. So yes,
yes.
Indonesian will not have a problem repeating it, repeating things.
You'll be the first then. First of the translators not having a problem.
Yeah, I will be the first. But for example, in page 22, you know that I start imagining translating this, you know. So the end of the first paragraph, Nai du verda, that phrase will be difficult to translate in Indonesian. Duva,
Mm.
I don't know how to translate it in Indonesian already because that's so Norwegian, but I
Yeah.
can guess that I would need more than two words to translate it. And then if you repeat it, it doesn't work as good as when you say du werden twice.
Right. Right.
So this is going
Oh,
to be interesting project if there will be any.
yeah. Yeah, we should have maybe looked at some of the translations as well, just to compare, but we can do that another time. The readers will, I mean, the podcast readers will probably, if they're interested, look it up in English
Yeah,
and then see what the translation looks like and what solutions the translator made. Mm.
I want to
Mm.
continue talking about this book. Do you know, or can you guess in which place in Norway this story happened? There is a clue about Vågen. Is it a lake or is it a sea?
Vågen, no, that's a what you call it in English then?
Is a fjord?
A vik, isn't it?
Oh,
Yeah,
we,
it's
yeah,
part of it's a part of a fjord. So, but what would you call it? A vik in English? Cove, a cove, I think is
cove.
the English
Okay,
word. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So I don't think it's a specific Vågen because they're usually Vågen could be parts of so many different places along the coast. But we are definitely along the coast
Hmm,
somewhere.
somewhere.
And I would think maybe in Jon Fosse land. So
Jon
that
Fosse
part of
Nissan.
Norway, where he comes from. So
And then
um,
the place we start to guess now, but what is the time? Because he has this chain watch, isn't it, Johannes? He's taking out of his chain watch. So this must be a bit older than the modern time, and 2004.
Well, I was trying to think as well, what time are we in? Because he lives in a house where he talks about Lillehuset, which is well, not a toilet as such. Well, it is a toilet, but outside in a separate house, a small little house. But he has running water in his house, and he has electricity.
Yes.
But I think, I mean, the way he describes that they moved from his childhood home, which is where the first part of the book takes place, which is at Holmen, so an island, small island outside of the coast, where Johannes is born then. And that was probably a quite primitive, well, he describes it as a primitive place and too far away from everything. So when he started his own family, they moved to the current house. But I would think maybe, no, he's an old man. We don't know how old, but he's really old. I think I get the feeling he's really old. So maybe he grew up in the early 1900s, and we are now, when sort of the time of his death, somewhere in modern times, I think. I mean, there's a car, there's
it's very
talk to
little
the cell
information.
phone.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, he talks about both he and his late wife Anna are really happy that when they grew old, they were pensioners, and there was a pension every month, so they were safe.
Yes.
So, and that also indicates that, okay, it's modern times, but then maybe not that modern. I would reckon sort of maybe 1980s, 70s, 80s, something when he dies. I'm not sure. But that's also, I think typical for Jon Fosse, that he very rarely specifies where. And I mean, in his plays, he also very rarely specifies names. It's the mother, the child, the father, she, he, and very, I think, seldom also geographic sort of pinpoint as to where we are.
So he expressing the essence of life, maybe for this, like life and death, the birth. There's also this some of the lines are beautiful that make me stop and try to say it, like when he said fra inche och till inche in page 14, and then those parts are a bit philosophical when the father contemplates about life, about the birth.
Where does it come from? Where does life come from, and where does it end? And that's sort of put into one small little sentence, and I made a note of that one too. It's really really nice.
And that is the thing about literary books, or in Indonesia the word is sastra, something, not a genre, where you can actually play with the forms like the writer does here, or you find hidden gems in between the story. What happens next is not the main point, but you find some gems of wisdom sprinkled around, and finding it was part of the enjoyment of this reading.
I agree.
And so in the beginning, and there is also a matter of transition. He transitioned, the big transition between the first part and the second part. Suddenly you talk about Johannes, after you talk about the little Johannes that is just been born, but he also creates some link to the previous one, because Johannes hates morning. And I don't share that actually. I love morning. But Johanna said, usually I throw up and I do this morning, just being all blah blah blah. But today I feel like a child. That's
Mm,
that's what I think a link to the previous part. And then he
mm.
dropped all these clues, and he was watching. He looked at the coffee play, the coffee thing.
Mug, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and suddenly he is seeing another object, which is something about fishing. I couldn't remember the word now.
It's his fishing tackle or his well, actually all I think his tools
Hmm.
in the shed. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So yeah, so if we should just maybe um do the transition properly. I mean, he wakes up one day and he feels different.
He feels
Yeah,
different.
he's not sick in the morning.
Hmm.
He's not sore. His body feels young again. He's
Feels
light on his
light.
foot.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's not sure whether he actually wants coffee or even a cigarette. And he always has a cigarette first thing in the morning, but this morning he feels different, and he doesn't really know why. And it doesn't feel cold in the house because we get an impression it's an old, maybe drafty house,
Hmm.
um, but it isn't this morning. And he's not actually. He doesn't. I should go to the toilet. Well, the little house. But then he says, "But I don't really have to." And that also seems like, a very unusual way to start his morning. And then he has hears a voice where he describes it almost as hearing a voice who says that he should get into his shed,
Hmm.
go into the shed. And he's a little bit surprised because he never had voices like this. And he goes into his shed, things look different. They're at the same, but at the same time, they describe like there's a golden light of such.
That's the
Yeah.
clue.
And then
That's another clue.
yeah, yeah. So things are the same, and also he describes that all his tools in the shed, they look the same. They're old, they're worn, they're heavy, but at the same time, they look light.
Hmm.
Yeah. And he also goes upstairs to the attic of the shed, and it's the same. There's a golden light, and also he can walk the stairs, which is, I think, quite steep, and he walks it easily, like no problem. And he's wondering, so why why is everything different? I'm the same, but everything's different at the same time. They're like they always are. So yeah,
And suddenly,
transition.
suddenly the physical laws doesn't apply to him.
Yep.
One time he was here, and then suddenly he was somewhere else, and then
Mm, mm,
all
mm,
this, yeah, stream of consciousness done very beautifully here. And then,
mm.
yeah, I always have a rule that I start to spoil the books when we have passed half an hour. But now,
Okay, we have already passed half an hour, so we can spoil everything now.
yes, of course. Because this book doesn't matter whether you spoiled or not, you can still enjoy it. I have read it
Mm,
twice now or three times.
mm,
And
mm,
this, I started to realize everything, every weird things that sometimes I miss when I first read it
mm,
makes sense at the end when you said, "Oh, he's dying, or he's death, or he's in the
mm,
process of
mm,
leaving his body." And
mm,
the switch between the places, the switch between the person, and then the person suddenly disappear after talking to him, Petter, and then going back again until Signe came, and then they start. I mean, all this switching was the
mm,
only clue, and it's beautifully done, I think.
mm, mm. Yeah, and also that his friend. Well, that's another thing that I thought about. I think for the first time now, reading it now, that Johannes and Peter are both biblical names.
Ah,
Uh, yeah,
yeah,
and
yes,
also Peter, his friend, who we know has died, and
yeah,
that he all of a sudden meets again. There's a sort of going back and forth because Johannes knows that Peter is dead, but at the same time, he's really happy to see him
yeah,
when they meet. Yeah, and then he's sort of forgotten that he's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's so very interesting
Very
shift, well, back and forth.
heartwarming as well. I mean, when you look at this, oh, this is probably the time when you die later. This is all the memory just switches. There is no time, there is no chronological structure anymore. You start talk, I remember he's dead, but now I'm going to give him a haircut. I'm going to his house to give him a haircut now. Where is he? And
Yeah, yeah.
and starting to remember their old love when there's Anna Patterson, the
Mm,
the lady who always come to buy his fish, Petter's fish.
mm,
And then why
mm,
didn't he come? And then the worry, I have to come there, otherwise he will not get his fish. And then all the
mm,
routines that old people, we imagine old people are having, uh, are beautifully described here.
yeah.
And then,
Yeah, so also this very strange scene where we're not actually told maybe that it was the day before, but very recent to his transition. He's been out fishing. You know, this is Johannes. He's been out fishing
hmm,
and released his fishing tackle, and then it just stops in the water about 1 meter below the surface of the water, and he's unable to sort of throw his fishing tackle deeper, and he finds it really strange, and he tries taking up, throwing it now again, and then taking to the other side of the boat, but the same thing happens. And he decides he can't tell anyone about this because it's too weird. But then also there's an expression, I think that comes from Peter, and he says, "So okay, so the waters didn't want you."
yeah, that is
Yeah.
that is that is touching me. It's like
Mhm.
you are rejected by the water today. What happened to you today?
Yeah. And this has been your everyday life. You've been a fisherman all your life, and you've gone out fishing, every almost single day, and made your livelihood from the sea, and all of a sudden the sea doesn't,
Rejects you. Yes.
yeah, it rejects you. Yeah.
And then there is also a scene where is Peter? I just talked to him and he's gone now. And there is also another scene where he throw stones to Peter's and then wait, the stone just goes
Mm,
past him. That is another clue. But I didn't
yeah.
dare to. At the time, the first time reading, I didn't dare to guess that they are dead because I
No.
didn't reach the end. I want to know. This is a Nobel Prize people. But why he's talking about ghosts? But
But
that's
there's also a wonderful phrase there after him throwing the stones. First, a small one
hmm,
goes right through him,
hmm.
and then a big one that also goes right through him. And then there's a line, I can't remember the page now, where he says something about, "I had an urge to ask him whether he was dead, but you can't ask people that."
Yes, exactly, exactly. You can ask people that. He's
And
playing
this
with
is
this
his
idea.
best friend that we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So
Mm.
Jon Fosse is talking about death in a playful, light manner. That is what I'm trying
Mhm.
to say.
Mhm.
I just want to
Absolutely.
connect to what happened to. I attended a conference yesterday. The conference theme was something a bit taboo belagt in Norway.
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
mostly talking or most of the topic are really related to death. So that
Mhm.
I found surprisingly when you are contemplating death, especially the way you want to die,
Mm.
it strengthen your will to live. At least that's to my effect. But
Mm.
at the same time, I'm preparing this before I went to that conference. I finished this book
Mhm.
the second time, and then
Mm.
Johannes, I can say that he's having a good death. He had a good death,
Mhm.
the kind of
Mhm.
death that I think I want to have. You just sleep
To
early
have your best friend come meet you? Yes, sure. To
and throw
take you
him.
over?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. And from the child, maybe, oh, father just slept and go. I had actually an experience about it. It's not it's I can imagine it will be nice for the person who went away, who passed
Mm,
away, but
mm,
there is no closure to people who,
mm.
especially when the person are in my age. So there is
Oh
no,
yeah.
it's a different case anyway, but sleeping and death is something to desire, I think.
Mm.
And Jon Fosse,
And I mean, we have that perspective in the book as well because Johannes's youngest daughter, he has 7 children.
yeah,
He had 7 children with his wife Anna, and she's passed away a few years ago. And his youngest daughter, well, he seems to have, great connection with all his kids, but his youngest daughter lives very nearby
mm,
in walking distance, and they're really close. And she's taking good care of him, it seems. She's calling him almost every day or drop by every day,
mm,
every other day.
mm,
And she's the one who finds him when
mm,
he's died. Yeah.
mm.
And also there's a part where she walks from her house to his house, uh, and they meet. I mean, his spirit, it must be then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm here. Why?
He
What?
doesn't realize it. No.
This is like, hey, have you seen the film where Bruce Willis was actually a ghost?
Yeah.
Yeah, The Sixth Sense or Seventh
Yes.
Sense. Sequence.
Yes. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
the kind of realization that Johannes didn't have,
Yeah.
and
True. Yeah. So
I
he tries to wave and talk to her, and she doesn't hear him, but she senses him, and then she walks right through him.
yes,
Yeah,
that
and
part is
there's something
also,
cold there. Yeah, oh, spooky,
so it must
nice and sad. Yeah.
yeah, but the sadness is not something that book you down, but I felt like there's also a peaceful feeling there. It's not only sad. Of course, you are
Mm,
taking farewell to your life and people who loves you, but
mm,
there is also, that's the peaceful way. Because, for example, the conference that I attended yesterday was presenting lots of cases where people who have been having illnesses for a long time and has
mm,
to endure it while they're
mm,
actually, maybe death is the only solution or something like that.
mm, mm,
But yes, uh, one of the joy of reading this book is actually to contemplate it, to
mm,
contemplate death. Well,
mm,
in the beginning, you are presented with a mourning where people just
mm,
been born, and then
mm,
a peaceful evening, a peaceful
mm,
night
mm,
for Johannes.
mm,
Both of
mm.
them are Johannes, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, they are.
That's another.
Yeah, and I think also, yeah, there's a description when sort of at the very end where he joins Peter in Peter's boat,
Hmm,
and they sort of set off into whatever's awaiting them. Now Peter knows what is awaiting them. I mean, because he's been there, he's been sent to take him over, as it were. But there's a very nice description that they're going somewhere where there aren't any. Oh, what page is this then? There aren't any words. So it's, I mean, is it sad? No, there's not really any words, and there's no pain,
yes,
and there's sort of just the quiet. Sorry, just get really moved. Yeah,
with
it seems very peaceful, and yeah,
if you are in the same
place
room, I
not
will
to be
give you.
feared.
If you are in the same room, I will give you a hug now.
Yeah.
But yes, contemplating death is. I never felt that it is depressing. It's actually a thing we should do more because we are given a limited time in life, and
Mhm.
by acknowledging that it will someday end, and then you want to use the best possible out of it, it sort of
Mhm.
liberate you.
Yeah, yeah.
So I cannot imagine being a Dracula or a vampire that I can live forever. then it will be
Rather not.
boring because yeah, you have unlimited. You can just waste it because it is unlimited anyway. It's not precious anymore.
True.
Mm.
No, it is a celebration, I think, absolutely, and also to the everyday in a way.
Hmm.
So he's happy. He's had a good life. He's had a job. Although I mean, there was a dramatic point in his fishing life as well. He almost drowned at one point, but Peter sort of picked him up from the waters, and he's had a good life with his wife and 7 children, and now he has, his pension, no worries, money. Uh, he seems content, I think. Yeah.
One thing I noticed, I don't know, I know very little about this, but when you say boat and death, the word that comes to me was Viking. So
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know whether these metaphors of people rowing boat to the eternity, I don't think it's from Christianity, but it could be from the Viking send off for the kings with the boat where they.
I think you find it in lots of mythologies, don't you? That the sort of river separating the living and the realms of the dead. So the river Styx, is it? And you pass that, you go into, yeah. And you have it in the Norse mythology, but I think you have it several
Several other.
several other places as well. Yeah, the Vikings, of course, are said to, at least when their chieftains died, they put them in the boat and sent them off, also setting fire to them. Yeah.
Yes. So what I'm trying to say is when you are describing death, usually mythology or the expression from mythology, symbolism are very useful, especially this one. And because he is a fisherman, the boats make much more sense.
Yes.
Or
True.
the story structure.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Yeah, and it's Peter's boat. Yeah.
Speed. Oh, now I start to see all the symbolism since you mentioned that Johannes and Peter is from the Bible, and it was Peter who take him from the baptism water. I don't know. I'm just playing with
Yep.
ideas.
Yeah. But there's lots of layers here that you can realize the second or third or fourth time maybe when you read a book.
Oh,
True.
this is why I like talking about books with people, with other people.
Yeah. It's always interesting to hear different impressions and different.
I want to take a little break out of this book, and maybe if you I don't you decide how much you want to share about this, but I think I want to talk about NORLA.
Okay.
Uh, how do how does NORLA present itself abroad? Is it like, yeah, maybe that's enough.
Well, we try to present each other as much as we can to make people familiar with who we are and what we do and what kind of schemes we can offer, because that's that's the core of what we do, that we have schemes to help literature written by authors in Norway abroad. So we have schemes to support translations of books that are sold into other languages. And we have schemes to help the authors travel to present their books when the books are translated and released. And we also do a lot of activities. For instance, my colleagues always attend book fairs, international book fairs around the world, presenting books, new books from Norway. We make a selection every spring and every autumn of our well, what we call them selected titles, and that's what they are. So books for adults and also for children, both fiction titles and non-fiction titles that we think give a broad and a nice spectrum of new books that have an international potential. And we also, of course, do lots of activities to connect with different parties in the book trade. So that could be international editors who are interested in learning more about Norwegian books, maybe buying rights to publish Norwegian books, and of course the translators. They are really at the core also of most of things we do, because without you and your colleagues, I mean, the books can't travel. People can't read them in their own language. So that's really, I mean, alongside the authors and their work, the work of the translator is really crucial to make the books available. And also we have, like you said, we met in Lillehammer, where you're part of a group of translators of Norwegian literature who were invited to take part in the literature festival. And we have different schemes also, like we have a translator's hotel, as we call it. It's not our hotel, but we have a deal with a nice hotel in Oslo where translators can apply to come and stay for 2 weeks and really dive into everything in Norwegian literature, or if they have a specific project, to meet maybe with the author that they are translating, to do research, and to meet their colleagues, because we're really fond of, should I say, matchmaking to make people meet. I mean, both colleagues, as translators are, and also, of course, to introduce translators to publishers and vice versa. So that's really what we do. And also, of course, we do advise, for instance, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Culture. We have funding from both, and we can advise if things are needed about international status of literature, Norwegian literature. So
the most interesting aspect that I learned, especially in Lillehammer when we met, also with other translators, the translators who translate foreign books into Norwegian, that are not that. So you separate the concern. NORLA is outward looking, where we promote Norwegian literature in many aspects to the wider world. When did it start, by the way?
We are actually turning 50 in 2 years, okay. 2.5 years. So 1978, NORLA was founded. So we're getting there.
Yeah, okay. You are still younger than me. Damn it. But yeah,
it started very small. So in the beginning, there was one person working half-time. And now we've sort of, over the years, expanded. And at the present, we are 8 people full-time. Some working on projects, so sort of on projects, but there are a lot of us.
Joking apart from my age, but my point is, so I imagine that there will be somebody realizing, oh, there is a need to actually structurally or strategically promote Norwegian literature abroad. I was trying to imagine, what was it? Because I know that compared to Indonesia, Norwegian read more. You know what the image that appears in my mind, that always stay in my mind when I landed the first time in Norway. People buying books in Norli with a basket, and then they just put it there. Dang, this is my fantasy. I wish I could. Before I came to Norway, people just I bought book 1 or 2, maybe once a month, but they can put it in basket like you are in a grocery. This is heaven.
But you must have come during the Mammutsalg.
Yeah. I don't want to ruin
Probably.
my picture.
No. I'm just trying to. Yeah.
But anyway, people buy books much more than in Indonesia, and it means that people also read more there. So my point was that at that time you have a realization that it's not just enough to have a national market. You need to go abroad. Or can you tell me a little bit about the birth of the idea of promoting it abroad?
I should really know this by heart, but as far as I've understood it, there was an initiative from the Authors Association that I think, if I have it right, funded the beginning, and also that this person who was working full time, her name is Kristin Brudvold. She was also placed. I mean, her office was also among the offices of the different writers' organizations. And then the way from there was sort of trying to find how can we make Norwegian literature travel. I mean, some had already. Some authors were, big. Sigrid Undset, for instance, she was really big early, without the help of any organization as such as we know. But there was, ildsjeler, I don't know what you call them in English, people who are passionate about.
Yes.
Yeah, and also representing, so almost a kind of agent. But then one looked into it sort of, yes, I said, trying to make it more systematic and organizational. And then I think the realization was really early that in order to make the books travel, you need someone who can translate them. So finding the translator was actually maybe the first step. And very early on, the connection was made with universities where Norwegian language is taught abroad. And Germany, I think, was the first country. And so connecting with possible future translators who studied Norwegian literature was sort of the beginning. And it, gradually went from there.
Yeah, of course, there will always be an author that is big enough. That happens also in Indonesian case, but it's like relying yourself on chances, like or it must be really really good, or maybe more political. Usually, being political helps to be translated abroad. But yes, so I think this is a good lesson for Indonesian audience, that maybe a more strategic way to promote Indonesian literature abroad would be nice. Because one of the argument of not doing that, probably because, we are 220 million people. If you can just make this million of people buy books, you don't need more abroad, right? That is the irony as well. You have all those people, but you still cannot market. So maybe marketing abroad will be even more effort or something like that. But yes.
Well, we are, as NORLA, I mean, we're part of an international network, naturally. And we see that a lot of languages, not only the smaller ones, as Norwegian is a small language, but also big ones, have organizations who do what we do, although in different ways. And also it's organized in different ways. But we have very close contact, for instance, with our Nordic sister organizations, as it were, in our network called NORLA. And that's also very, very fruitful. We meet regularly and we exchange ideas and experiences, best practices. We cooperate sometimes on a project. And then also NORLA is part of the European network for offices who do the same as we do. in lit, as in European. So it's always useful to keep in touch with people who do the same work, although in different ways and in different degrees, maybe. But and also through our Nordic network, we've seen the establishment of organizations who do the promotion of literatures, like, for instance, Greenland. So Greenlit has seen the light of day a few years ago. It's wonderful. There's organization also on the Faroe Islands, and Samilit has also now become a reality. So there's a lot of people promoting, and I mean, for Indonesia, the potential is huge.
Yes.
And there are many, I mean, looking into the many different organizations and ways to do it. I mean, there are lots of possibilities. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential that can be done, not necessarily by me, but by many others. I found personally people who have this ildsjäler and this passion about literature, and especially the book that the publisher that published Kristin Lavransdatter. Those are or the ideas behind it was that we are exposed a lot with literature, available in English language. So why not give much more color into all these palettes from literature that is not necessarily from English language? Surprisingly, a lot. We have this small publisher have published from Korean, from Japanese, from French, from German directly. So maybe that's going to be a trend to find the Indonesian diaspora abroad who are interested in translating, so that they can have direct translation. It's been a nice idea.
Absolutely.
Did the Nobel Prize help your work, or make it easier, or give another atmosphere?
Well, the truth be told, we have been planning for a case where Jon Fosse might actually receive the Nobel Prize for a few years. Yeah, I mean, he was on the betting lists, as it were, and not short lists, a few years, and I think everyone felt that if the prize was going to be given to a Norwegian author, he was one of the most likely. Yeah, there's been other names on the lists as well, but he was there. So we have been thinking the idea and kind of planning ahead of the announcement a few years, and then all of a sudden it happened. Of course, it's a great pleasure and a great boost to promoting Norwegian literature abroad, and also because he's so well read by so many languages already. I mean, thanks to the translators, as I said earlier, his works are available in more than 50 languages. So there's he's sort of very visible, has a lot of readers, has a lot of fans. I mean, on the theaters as well, so many people who have fond experiences with his work, and in his footsteps, sort of talking about more recent authors, other playwrights, for instance, poets, novelists, children's book writers, and so on. Yeah, it's a wonderful boost, absolutely. And a great pleasure.
Norwegian literature is not really foreign to Indonesian, maybe. I have read Jostein Gaarder, Sophie's Word in 1997 or 98 when it comes out, and it was direct. It was translated from English, and I didn't know where Norway is, but I read that book. And Hamsun Sult, or Hunger, is already available as well. And so Norway is actually not unmapped in Indonesian, but living in Norway now, I think there are a lot more things that can be introduced, not only the literary, but also probably the uh, påskekrim, that idea. I have talked about it in my podcast when we talk about UNESCO, and then I said that there's an industry that is called påskekrim. That could be introduced as well.
Yeah, we've tried to pitch the idea to quite a lot of publishers in different ways, but they don't. Yeah, it's a very Norwegian tradition, but it's a good idea, and it's a little bit weird. But you mentioned Sophie's World. I mean, that book probably is the locomotive for the export of Norwegian literature in sort of recent years. Yeah.
And
So his open doors for other writers as well. His book definitely. Yeah.
I got the information from the publisher in Indonesian, Indonesian publisher, Mizan Publishing. That book is still in the top 3 or the top 10 until now.
Wow.
And the one I translated directly from Norwegian, Dunia Anna or Anna, is top 10. Not the top 3, but part in the top 10. Maybe in and out a couple of weeks, but Sophie's Word is still there.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think the situation is actually the same in a lot of other countries as well. I heard in China, it's still, still widely read, and lots of other countries, obviously. But we don't have the details of all of them. But it's great to hear that such a book is still doing well and attracting new readers. And
it's part of my Norwegian existence, actually, because I know that book, and I got the impression that, oh, Norway, the land of philosophy. And when I came to Norway, I had to take X-Phil. Another, obligatory philosophical education in the university. These people must love philosophy that much. Until I talked to some student who saying, oh, that semester I drank the most. Yes.
Yeah, not for everyone maybe, but it's part of the drill of getting into university. Yeah.
But I blame him for liking philosophy, because I start reading philosophy book or philosophy related books after reading Sophie's Word, actually. I remember
Well, I must admit I didn't, but I loved that semester at the university. So
I remember at that time I was already working in English school as a part-time teacher. I was studying in the university. My boss was a British man, and I was being a snob. I put that book, Sophie's Word, on my desk in the office. I just want to tell people that I'm reading this book. And then my boss passed by my desk and said, "What? You're reading that? Does it make any sense in Indonesia? Because this is Western philosophy." And blah, blah, blah. And then I had the discussion with him. But yes, people who who studied philosophy in the university, read that book, I heard, and common people like me also love. And the thing that it is presented as a story makes it even more attractive. You can love reading a story. Well done, Yustein.
It was also made into a film, but I never saw that film, actually.
I saw that film. That part of my Norwegian early expose. I loved that film.
Okay.
It was. I started working. I came to Norway. I started working at the embassy, and then the embassy people received that invitation. nobody else wanted to do it, so I went because I read the book. I have to see this film
Yeah,
recently.
yeah, yeah. Cool. And you enjoyed it. Oh, that's great.
I did enjoy it.
Hmm.
Mette, how are you as a reader? You are working in a place where you deal with a lot with books. Does it enhance your enjoyment of reading, or maybe even kill it? Some people, oh, I don't want to do this in my free time because in my work time I already see books.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a bit about it?
Well, yeah. Um, I think it has working with books for so long. I mean, I've been working in NORLA now for quite a number of years, and previously I worked in a publishing house in Norway, also exposed to books.
What did you do
But
there?
sorry,
What did you do in the publishing house?
I was the publishing secretary, and then as years went by, they also established an in-house agency, literary agency, and so I was an agency assistant as well.
Okay.
And that was really interesting, and that's when I sort of got the taste for working, abroad or to an audience abroad. Very, very, very rewarding. But one of the things that this overexposure to books has done is that I've become very picky. So when I was younger, when I started the book, I was like, okay, I need to finish it, although it doesn't really appeal to me, but I need to, okay, I have to read it to the end.
Hmm.
But I think after just a few years in the publishing house, I became a little more
Selective.
selective, yes. And it was like, okay, so I'll give it 30 pages,
Uh,
maybe 50. And if I'm not, hooked, then sorry, Mac. And yeah, I've stayed true to that. So
Indeed.
it has to be, yeah, it has to be a book that appeals to me. I mean, luckily, I'm not uh, in charge of choosing our selected titles at NORLA. My other colleagues who read ferociously many books are in charge of that. So I might sometimes, and try and, well, share my favorites or whatever, but that's not it's not part of my daily job. I do communications
Hmm.
and I work with translators as well. So I read a lot, but well, if you've asked my family, I think when it comes to my reading habits, I'm always late. I need the deadline in order to finish a book. And according to my husband, I'm a very fast reader as well. So when I
Okay.
have to, I can finish a book, very quickly. But I enjoy to read books at a slower pace, to be able to reread and enjoy. Sometimes also I make notes. I did now for this reading of Morgan quotes,
Hmm.
quite long passages actually, quotes. I think that's always nice yeah, to sort of cherish the favorite passages and quotes. And I think I must be honest and say that I read less than I should, possibly. Yeah. And also, of course, working with the export of Norwegian literature, it feels in a way like a betrayal to read books written in other languages. So translations.
Okay.
But yeah, because I mean, we should really be updated on the new books published in Norwegian language. So I'm really happy and lucky to be part of a book club, reading circle
Hmm.
with friends. We have 5 in all, and I actually we started quite a few years ago. I think it's more than 10 years ago now. And it all came about because I had a girlfriend who was really good at talking about books and the joy by reading books from her book circle. And I soon discovered that there was no room for another person in that circle. And I talked to my cousin, we're really close. And she was like, oh, yeah, we're quite interested in sort of exploring the reading together and discussing books part. She was a librarian at the time. And so we established our own reading circle and invited a few friends and former colleagues as well. And it's been really, really a wonderful thing to have. Both, the friendship growing through reading books and discussing books, as I'm sure you know as well. You get close to people when you talk about books you read. And also that's sort of my free space where it's okay for me to read translated books. So that's a very good thing, because I mean you can't really look at the Norwegian literature solo. I mean it's always connected, and it's always good to have sort of references and connections, and in order to have that you need to read books from other cultures and authors and languages. So that's it's great. And yeah, as my family would have revealed to you, I always need a deadline. So usually when we are due to meet in the book club, I read the book the last 2 days before we meet. And sometimes my friends say, you always remember things so clearly. And it's because it's really fresh on the top of my head. But it's really enjoyable. Sorry.
I bet your book club never decided to read War and Peace. You cannot do that. You cannot.
We actually have two simple rules. And one is that the book should never be over 300 pages long. So War and Peace is out. And then the second.
Too bad. Bye.
I know.
Bye.
Yeah. The second rule is that the book should be available in libraries. So we don't read the newest books normally, because then we'd have to buy it. We need it to be available in libraries, and also to not be too old, so that there are several copies for us to borrow. And then we also have a very nice tradition that we have the reading, the book club, at home, and we take turns. So the person who we visit will make a suggestion for 3 books for us to choose from to the next time we meet. And then we vote. And usually we end up, with a book winning. Sometimes there's a draw, but it's part of the excitement. And then a few years ago, we also decided, so it's actually one of my friends who suggested that maybe we should also read a poem every time we meet. And that's a very nice tradition now. So then another person chooses a poem and reads a poem. And so, it's very, very enjoyable. And sometimes we understand the poems and like them, and sometimes we don't really understand them. We like them anyway. But also for the discussion on the books, it's, I think, sometimes also very interesting to discuss a book where some of the readers did not enjoy the book. And why, why do we read it so differently? And how come you love this part and that really annoys me, and vice versa? And it's great. Really, really great.
I have a trick responding to you're not finishing a book. I said to myself, if I have to make an episode of this podcast, like it or not, I have to finish it. But I try to suggest to myself that by finishing it, you have all the legitimacy to bitch about it.
Okay, I'll keep it in mind. Yeah.
Yeah, because you have spent time and effort to do it. But anyway, I use that rights to bitch about book very seldom because I always find a way. Maybe in the beginning I had an idea. Maybe I don't like that book. After a second time or another way of approaching it, I felt that I find the book must be really, really bad if I need to bitch about it, because sometimes I felt that I found a, a more flexible way to appreciate, because oh, maybe the story is weak but the idea is bad. There is always a way for me to get into it and then see the weakness as a verbetering potential, the room for improvement. Yes, but I'm not working in a book word like you, so I don't have that necessity to drop books like you do.
Yeah.
How
No, but that's always a challenge, isn't it? When people sort of like say, "What's your favorite book this autumn?" or "What's your favorite book sort of overall?" and "What's your favorite children's book?" And yeah, it varies, and also it's you should probably have read all to be
what did
able to
what did you read as a child? Did you read as a child at all?
yeah. Well, first of all, my parents read to me, so that's a thing that sort of the first meeting with books was my parents reading to me. For instance, Astrid Lindgren, her children's books, yeah, and well, lots of other stories. I loved the sad stories. I think I was a sensitive child. I was always like, oh yeah. And also, a teacher read to us at school. And he usually chose the really, really sad stories, which we loved. And it was a little bit, embarrassing to cry at school when the teacher read aloud, but we managed. Yeah.
Was Enid Blyton popular in Norway?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. When I sort of got older, that's the kind of books I'd read, sort of the mystery stories and Nancy Drew and the
Famous,
Five and
famous five.
lots,
Hmm.
famous Five, yeah. But
That
I guess also a lot of Norwegian authors, but I'm just now I can't recall. Yeah, of course. Those wonderful illustrated books by an author called Tor Åge Bringsværd. He's sadly passed this autumn. He was very, very productive writing for children and adults as well. And he had a series about a sea serpent called Ruffen, wonderfully illustrated by a guy called Tore Hansen. And I think maybe the books came out in the 70s or something. There are quite a lot of them in a series. Wonderful, wonderful books with the adventures of this the sea serpent who couldn't swim.
Yeah, there is always this catch. For me, I remember when I was a child, my exposed to Scandinavia, maybe. When I was a child, I didn't read this, but when I was small, there are a tradition of having this radio theater, but they
Oh,
sent
yeah.
in a cassette. That's how old I am. And they usually dramatize story like Hans Christian Andersen, small story, the girl with the matches, the matches girl, or yeah. So yes, that is part of my childhood. But Enid Blyton, the famous five, was something that I read over and over, because at that time we don't get unlimited books, so you read and reread the books you have until you can remember everything about it.
And you love the series. Yeah. You
Yes.
love it to be part of a series where you know the characters and the settings, but the story is always a little bit different. Yeah.
Yes. That is the rhythm of a series, right? You know the same characters but different stories or plots. I also, oh, which one is that? Oh, Little House on the Prairie. Was it
Oh
also?
yeah. Yeah. I didn't read the books though. I just saw the television series.
Yeah.
Yeah, loved it. Yeah. But we also had a tradition of well, what would you call it? Dramatization on the radio. So
Mm.
hørespill. Yeah,
Yes, it's a
on the
we call it
children's radio.
radio drama.
Radio drama. Yeah. So
Mm.
we had that as well. Every Saturday there was a radio show called Barnetimen, and
Mm.
then they had an episode. So you had to wait for a full week to hear, what happened next. And there were some really exciting stories. For instance, a book by Maria Gripe, Swedish author, To Djävulen flyr i skumringen. So exciting and scary at the same time. Wonderful drama. Really, really good. Yeah. Made a long impression. Also, I discovered by and by the books of, what's this called? Michael Ende,
Haven't
The
heard.
Never Ending Story, Momo at the time. What it called? Yeah. Wonderful German writer.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, there's so many great books. So. Also in Norway, we have a book club that, when I grew up, was sort of the big thing. They had books for adults, and they also had a book club for children, Bokklubbens barn, so
Mhm.
book club for children, where you had a kind of what do you call a subscription in a way.
Okay.
So you got a magazine every week, every month, and there was a pick, the book of the month.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and if you didn't,
You can
if you
cancel it.
didn't cancel it, it would come in the post.
Yeah.
And this was a huge thing. I mean, they were really um, market dominant. So a lot of children all around Norway, from south to north, read the same book at the same time, which was wonderful because then, I mean, lots of your friends, people in class, and so on, would know of the same book. Maybe were having their parents reading it to them at the same time,
Mm.
and you could share. So that was kind of a book club, although we didn't think about it. It was because of Bokklubbens barn, which
Yes.
was wonderful. Yeah. And also, I think for adults, it was the same because there was sort of the titles being presented. Those were the ones that people most likely would read,
Mm.
and there was sold, in thousands and thousands of copies every month. So that was a big thing also for the authors to be selected. And it was a kind of a common reading circle, if you will.
You,
And they're
you,
not dominant anymore. Actually, things have
you share
changed.
experience, right? There is still book clubs now in the same with the same system, but I don't feel the same shared experience as you described now because people are having so many options to consume their
Yeah,
time. But I still
exactly.
think there is still enjoyment. I found making this podcast widen my horizon in many things, and talking to people about books is always interesting, whether you agree or disagree with whatever
Yeah,
you're talking about.
true. Absolutely. Yeah. And there's so many things. I mean, there's so many angles usually. And to discuss it with someone, you very often find there's different angles at the ones that you saw the first
Can I
first
ask
entry.
you? Can I ask you a provocative question? What don't you read?
Hmm. I read far too little nonfiction.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's not really choice as such, but it's just that it feels usually less of an obstacle to start reading fiction for some reason. I don't know why. But when I do read nonfiction, I'm usually very happy because I think I learn so much. I should do it more.
Yes.
And also, I mean, at work with NORLA, I've gotten to know so many great topics presented in the most interesting ways by authors, nonfiction. So really, I should do that more. When I started working at NORLA, I was actually helping our colleague who was in charge of nonfiction books. And so that's when I probably had my most exposure to and reading more nonfiction. But that's really a thing I should, do more. Yeah. But do you sort of think of your question as there something that I really do not want to read, not use my time to read?
Sure.
Yeah. So as in provocative. I don't know. I read very little drama. I mean, I prefer to watch plays at the theater. Yeah, so I don't really, and I used to find it very hard to read as well, because it's always like this the stage sort of description of stage, and he said and she says and this, and so I don't normally do that, but I love going to the theater. So.
Do you read?
And now that my kids are grown, I don't really read a lot of children's books, sadly. Well, with the exception of my youngest niece, she's a book lover of dimensions. So whenever I'm with her babysitting, it's a pure joy to be able to read books with her and for her. And of course, she knows them all by heart already. So if I skip a sentence, it's like, oh, are you sure? Didn't you miss? So that's wonderful. But with my kids now not being kids, but grown men, I don't read to them anymore, sadly.
Do you read sci-fi? No. Yeah,
I have
earlier
on, but I don't know. Maybe I should.
No, there is nothing should or should not. I think it's sometimes I
just
the books. It is not you who find the books. The books finds you, or the people finds you. I challenge myself talking to people who love, for example, sci-fi, and then I start reading sci-fi because of them, and then it, for example, changed my mind, changed my what do you call prejudice sometimes. I usually thought that there is no literary there in sci-fi. People are so occupied with technology and stuff like that. And then I found, I think in the previous few episodes, actually everything Hyperion. It's based on Simmons. It is based on a literary books or work of a poet, and then he built a word out of it. So yeah, I think it's just time and our humanly limitation that is not allowing us to read everything.
True.
But I want to go.
Yeah, and my to read list is always very long.
Indeed, that's all we do. And I think I buy more books than I actually have time and to read it, because it's such pleasurable. Whenever I went to Indonesia, part of my baggage will be Indonesian books, because we don't have library here. We don't have library culture in Indonesia, so you have to own it, and there is no way to access it. But anyway, it's not as expensive as books in Norway anyway. So there is a trading there. Do you know any Indonesian literature, by the way? You can say no, of course.
Not that I know is Indonesian. No. Sadly.
Any other concept of what Indonesia as a country or as a literature country. I mean, not as a country, but the book world in Indonesia. Have you been exposed?
I don't think so, no. Not sort of knowingly, sadly.
But I found some translated Indonesian book in the book here. One of the classics, for example, The Earth Children by Pramudia Anantatur. It's available in Norwegian.
Yeah, great.
The contemporary one is Skjønnhet et sår by one. It's available there. So I was surprised, actually. And the last
book, do you know if they've been translated directly?
Not the first one. I know it's been translated from English.
Yeah.
But the second one I mentioned, I don't know. But yes.
I'll look into that, definitely.
The author who wrote the last book I mentioned was the one who commissioned me to translate Kristin Lavransdatter. Who has the idealistic goal to translate literature directly from non-English languages.
Yeah.
But yes.
And it is so important. I mean, translations are so important because they bring us knowledge and sentiments and horizons from other parts of the world, and it's really important. So I mean, that's really why I do enjoy reading translations as well. Not part of my working hours, but to prepare for my book club, because it's just fulfilling to have different views and different ways of seeing the world and learning things. I mean, because that's basically what we do. We travel through books and we learn.
I mentioned you the last time we met in the office that my favorite author is Turkish Orhan Pamuk. I want to share to you how I found this author. It's from Anarko Bookbad in 2005. He was interviewed a year before he received the Nobel Prize in 2006. And then, like I mentioned, authors and books find you, not you find them. Yeah, you find them, but sometimes you don't like it. But for actually this particular author and books, I found it when I saw him answer the questions. Usually questions are a bit, you can predict it's going to be asked like that, the process credit, blah, 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 right? But he answered it I thought it was an original way of answering things. Then I said, oh, this person is interesting. I have to read it. And then I bought My Name is Red. And then, oh, this is me. I wish I wrote this. That is the kind of my ultimate compliment for a book. If you say, damn it, I wish I wrote this. It is the same thing with the Skjønnhet et sår, Beauty is a Wound. When the first time I read it, I said, damn it, I should have read this.
Wow.
And so Orhan Pamuk was, I discovered it in Norway from Bookbladet. And then that is the thing that is also motivate me. We should talk about books more because you don't know who you inspire. Maybe there is one guy listening to this and starting to read Jon Fosse. Who knows? Never know. Just make it available.
True.
You realize we have been talking almost 2 hours, right?
I see that now. Yeah. Time flies. Yeah.
So usually a supporting word for our audience. I usually go back to the book again. I will try to not make a pitch, but I would encourage people to read this because this is basically easy, but the effect is really deep. You get to contemplate about big things in life, like life and death. in a subtle, soft way, but sometimes sad. Of course, some of the sentences really hit you hard, but at the same time, it is also playful. Johannes sometimes do some silly stuff when he died. Who throws stone to your friend? And then you repeat it in a bigger stone. Who does that? And since I don't know other books of Jon Fosse, so I cannot say this is the gateway drug to read Jon Fosse. Can you do this? Can you say that? Because
Well, since I haven't read that many of his huge production either, I can just say that this is my absolute favorite of the ones that I have read or tried to read
yes, yes.
of his adult books. And I think you summed it up beautifully. So I have nothing to add. I just think that, yeah, people should read it.
People should read this, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Personally, I hope. Yeah, I don't know. Don't say it here. But people should read this. More people who doesn't speak Norwegian should read this as well.
Mm. Mm.
And I would like to thank you, Mette, for agreeing to do this. I hope you enjoy this as much as I did. And I
I
hope
did.
good to hear. And I hope this is not the last time. I hope this is the first of many.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's been really, really nice to talk to you, and I'm really happy and honored to be invited to your podcast. This is my debut in a podcast ever, so that's very nice. And yes, I enjoyed talking books with you, and be happy to do it again.
Yes, maybe
Thank you so much for inviting me.
I would like to play Nurla's role from Indonesia side. Maybe I will connect you, make you a speed date with author, book publisher, or maybe bookshops. If you
Mm.
ever go to Yogyakarta, I think Yogyakarta has a vibrant atmosphere of independent bookshops where people just go there as a sanctuary. I wish those
Mm.
places were available when I was at that age. I was young in Indonesia.
Mm.
I didn't have money. You should read Movable Feast by Hemingway because
Mhm.
it's about his experience in Paris when he was broke. He drank a lot, but he still need literature. And he doesn't speak French, I guess. So there is what is the biggest church there? That just
Notre Dame.
yeah, in front of the Notre Dame, there is a
Mm.
small book independent book handle, Shakespeare and Company. Maybe you know, of course.
Mm. I've
Uh,
been there. Yeah.
yes, and in the book, Hemingway said that I can borrow books there freely, and then blah blah blah. There is one
Mm.
Indonesian guy who was inspired by that bookstore and by that book and created
Mm.
the similar bookstore in Yogyakarta.
Wow.
Imagine. And it's been running for 10 years now, and he is 33. So he
Oh, wow.
started when he was 23, right? I, I imagine what did I do when I was 33? I didn't have that much vision, let alone effort to realize something like that. So I visited
Wow.
the bookstore, and then when I entered, oh, this is like Shakespeare and Company in Paris, but with Indonesian.
Mm.
I saw a mattress there. Somebody was living here, like in
Mm.
Shakespeare and Company, where poor author can just crash the place for a few days,
Mm.
and
Mm.
probably that happens there too.
Mm.
Yes, all the merchandise, everything there is. I think it's amazing. So I
Mm.
to that guy, and then I said I translate Norwegian literature. Oh yeah, why not having some happening in this place about Norwegian
Mm.
literatures that has been translated or will be translated, and why not? So I'm planting
Mm.
it now to you. or to
Thank
people
you.
who hear this, let's be open
Yeah.
to the possibility of that happening.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. I mean, we do lots of different corporations, or I mean, funding different events all around the world, really. So yeah, there's possibilities here. Absolutely.
Yes.
Mm.
Thank you for coming here. For everyone who listened to this, take a note, Jon Fosse, morning and evening.
Mm.
Thank you, Mette.
And enjoy it. Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure. See you soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye.